Who's the one vendor people hate to spend money on, but in the long run, they save you the most overall? If you're interested to know which vendor this is, check out this video. Welcome back, everybody. I am Chris 70 with 70 Mortgage Note Investments, where we provide you sage advice to empower you to take control of your future financial independence through mortgage note investing. Today, we're going to talk about the one vendor people hate to hire somebody for. And for me, it's been a saving grace as I brought this person on board very early in my note investing career. So who is this? Well, it's a bookkeeper. And I know many people want to do their books themselves, whether they use Excel, QuickBooks, whatever process it is. And honestly, if you got 1, 2, 3, up to 5 notes, probably not a big deal. But once you start to scale, it is very challenging and difficult to manage them. And here are some of the common mistakes I'll share with people. And then we'll also talk about what to look for in a bookkeeper. So some of the biggest mistakes I see people take on is putting the loans into their books. If you get a payment of $500 from a borrower, you need to break that up as principal and interest. You just don't put it as a $500 deposit. And the reason why is you're paying taxes on that interest, and that interest gets taxed as ordinary income. So you really need to separate it, as well as make sure that your books match what your servicer is already reporting to the government. Because if they don't match and you ever get audited, the time and effort you're gonna have to take to go through that audit, not gonna be fun. So that's just one of many myriads. Others include what goes on the balance sheet versus what can be written off as profit and loss. From that perspective, where does it go on your balance sheet? Does it go under the asset column or the liability column? Because when you get your books done, and again, this may be way over your head, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because you understand it was way over my head. I knew enough to get myself in trouble, but I want an expert to do it. For example, your principal payment from a borrower comes in and typically hits under the asset. And then the interest, if you have interest, if there's no JV partner, it goes to your P&L. If you have a JV partner, it actually goes to your liability. So it's, depends on the situation where it actually physically goes in your books. And that can create a lot of confusion. And probably just speaking this, people are like, oh man, this is confusing. And trust me, it is. So why do you want to take on that task? Why wouldn't you want to pay someone a few hours a month to handle this for you and then make sure it's done correctly? If you're raising money from investors, absolutely, without a doubt, you need a bookkeeper. I've seen over my 5 years, the people who don't use a bookkeeper typically are the ones who end up getting themselves in the most trouble because there's nobody there to keep them honest, unfortunately, or they just don't know or misreport things. So it's not that they're doing things intentionally, it's that they don't know and things could get mixed up in error. So probably scared you enough to make you go out and hire a bookkeeper. So what do you look for in a bookkeeper? The biggest thing is make sure your bookkeeper understands notes. Now there's real estate, which has, its classes with depreciation and so forth, but notes are a whole different animal. And not many bookkeepers are familiar with notes. So I recommend one. I use Debbie Mullins out of Debbie Mullins Bookkeeping down in, I think she's in South Lake, Texas, but she's out of Texas. She does my books. She does a lot of books for other investors. I've had her on other speaking engagements. But I enjoy working with her because she knows what she's doing from that perspective. So, I'm not saying you have to use Debbie, but make sure you do use somebody who understands note investing and how to do notes. Also make sure not only to understand notes, but understand if you're raising money and how you're raising money, because whether it's a JV agreement or a fund, that can get allocated differently and things get, produced on your reports differently. So make sure you're aware of that. Lastly, what's the software they use? You want to make sure you kind of have that same software to match, whether it's Quicken, QuickBooks. I think, it's Coke and Pepsi, honestly. I think majority of people do use QuickBooks, but it's something you want to look into. So with that being said, I'd like you to share some of the stories of why you think a bookkeeper is or is not important. Share it below in the comments. Make sure click on the subscribe button to get other updates and videos from us. But we really like to hear from you and your feedback on how a bookkeeper may have saved you money in the long run, or just how easy it is for you to work on your business versus in your business. So thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the Good Deeds Note Investing podcast. Also, check our new membership site, 70investments.com/join. And as always, go out and do some good deeds. Thank you for watching.